Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in Landon Swan. He's a co-founder at Likefolio. Welcome back to the show, Landon.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right. So Chewy got a nice bump on those earnings last quarter. It seemed like the bar was really low going into that report. Do you guys have the data that kind of supports the pushback that we've seen? The stock's up, at its 50-day moving average, moving higher over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, that report was incredible. I mean, you had a ton of short interest going into it. The stock went from 16, I think, up to as high as 39 before it sort of settled in the mid 20s. So, it's got that explosive potential to the upside because of the very low expectations, including negative. You got the short interest. So, a lot of potential, I think, on a name like this. And the data really does support the pop. I mean, obviously, this is a company that, has we've talked about this before, extremely high consumer happiness, mostly around their customer service or customer experience, if you will. They take a very personalized approach, and their entire company is all about building loyalty. In fact, I think that 85% of their sales come from repeat customers, and 78% of sales come from auto ship. So these are people that are not going away. I mean, they've got a pet, they're going to have a pet for years, and they're buying this food every week it comes in, toys, supplies, whatever it may be. So extremely loyal customers, and they've actually had a pretty significant increase when you look at their web traffic. And consumer demand has definitely gone higher over the last little bit. And that's, that little move up in the last bit there, that's what I think a lot of people, took notice of in that last earnings report. And the sales are there. I mean, they did a fantastic job on those on the last earnings report. Website visits are up about 16%. On a year-over-year basis. They've also are launching Chewy Health, which is very new, but it's starting to add an additional income stream. And so their margins right now are about 30% overall, their gross margins, but Chewy Health is actually higher than that. So that's like telehealth and products related to health and veterinary services, prescription, things like that, so that you can get your pet what it needs, when it needs it, and not have to deal with the vet. You just do it online, you do it in front of your computer or on your phone. Really cool. And then they're also adding Chewy Plus, which is basically like a loyalty program. It's a higher level of service with free deliveries, rewards, perks, things like that. That's extremely new. I think it's even in beta right now. But you can see what they're doing with their model, right? They're taking people who they know can be long-term customers, because if you have a pet, you have a pet for years, and probably, even after that pet passes on, you're probably going to get another one if you're a pet person. And so they're taking these people who have a tendency to have a need over the long term, and they're turning them into extremely loyal customers, and they're making sure that their margins are high. That's a really good recipe for success. And last quarter they had $50 million in free cash flow because of it. They're really turning the company around. I mean, this has always been one on our radar that had sort of the highest consumer happiness, I think, across all of our companies. If not the highest, it's one of the highest. And they had a decline for a while in web visits and just consumer demand overall, but they've turned it around. I think they've gotten back to their roots and back to that extremely high consumer experience. So I love to see this company turning around. I do think there's a lot of room to the upside, especially when you've got that short interest, which I love. You guys know me, I'm a bit of a contrarian when it comes to trading. So if there's a ton of money on the opposite side, I know that, if things go well on this report, they're going to have to cover. And so I think this one does have the potential for an explosive move if they come in with numbers that I think they may come in with.
I don't know for sure that you're a contrarian, Landon, because I don't see you in any of the meetings. So how would I know if you're a contrarian? Because I'm president of the contrarian group, and I don't see you there. So, but that being said, this company, Landon, it was obviously a pandemic winner, right? If I can get food delivered to my house without leaving the house, what a beautiful thing. But if you break down the pet industry, all trends are leading towards Chewy, not away from them. Is this just simply a case of they grew too big too fast, and now the growth rates are moderating, and the stock is 72% off its all-time highs, but they claim they can serve 80% of the U.S. population overnight and 100% within 2 days. The loyalty program seems to be incredibly effective and working. So put on your CEO hat. What do they need to do to get back to relevance and get this stock back up to, even half of where it was?
Well, I think you nailed it. They're kind of like right place, right time, but it might have been a little early, right? I mean, even in those kind of situations, you have a great business model. You're not prepared necessarily for this complete societal change, and everyone now wants to go online, even though that's their model. So I think that they somewhat got away from the customer experience. We saw a dip in happiness, and that often happens with our data. Is you see purchase intent go through the roof, and happiness will go down oftentimes because the company gets a little overstressed. I think that's maybe what happened to them. They were a COVID darling. They were in the right place, right time, but it was just too fast. And they talked about this in their last earnings report and how they're methodical and they're very disciplined. They talk about what they want their margins to be, how they want their process to work. So I think that they've kind of had the time to go through those growing pains, get back to basics, and get back to that extremely happy customer base and making sure that they keep them, they make sure that their margins are on point, and then they continue to offer more value add for these customers. Now, so like I said, they're adding Chewy Health and they're adding Chewy Plus. So these are things that are going to extract more money from the consumer, give them more value through the prescription medications, saving veterinary visits and getting all the perks of being a loyal customer, which most of their customers are. So I think they're doing the right thing. It's just getting back to what brought them to this point and just going for that steady, disciplined growth. And if you're an investor or a hedge fund who's extremely short this name, and you see very disciplined, steady growth with increased margins, you're going to cover your position. That's not the kind of company you want to have a large short interest on. So I love the positioning of this one, even though it's up from 16 to 25 from the last earnings report till now. We saw what it can do, and we know that it can go much higher. So this seems like a very solid company with a back to their grassroots plan with an extremely happy and loyal fan base. So I think just basically keep cranking and let time prove that they're relevant and stick it to the short sellers, basically.
Yeah, I noticed, the short sellers, there's been some activist investors in there. You've got the founder of the company. He's, investing in anything that, gets meme recognition at this point. Keith Gill from Roaring Kitty was involved in it at one point. But Landon, when you look at it, besides the competitors that you mentioned in there, what about Amazon? Is that a threat to Chewy? Because if I can order the same thing on Amazon and I'm paying a Prime and I don't have to worry about another delivery service, is that a concern? And do you have an earnings score on this one?
Yeah, I mean, of course it's a concern. Anybody that competes with Amazon, it's going to be a concern. But I think what sets them apart is their customer service. And, I know I've said that a million times, but it's really unbelievable. You can go online and search. I mean, we had one of our employees in our office get a handwritten note from Chewy when one of their pets passed away. It was incredible. Like that made that employee say, all right, Chewy for life. Next pet, that's it. You're not getting anything like that from Amazon. So, the prices are going to be similar, but you're going to have the ability to get through the veterinary process and all the health concerns. You're going to, have the rewards and perks, and they're going to make it feel like we're here for you and your pet. Whereas Amazon is like, okay, what would you like to buy? It's a different kind of experience. And I think that pet lovers really like that. When it comes to the trading side of it, we issued a bullish alert on this to our hedge fund customers about a month ago. We're up about 5% on that going into this report. All the data continues to point to the upside. This is actually a plus 71. Very bullish on this one going into the report. We have high expectations, and I think the street, even though they saw last quarter what could happen, I think the expectations are still too low.
All right, great stuff. Great data as always, Landon. Appreciate it.